Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're gonna compare 3 Ahsoka figures from 3 different companies. As you can see here we have the Black Series version, the S.H.Figuarts version and the Mafex version of Ahsoka. And I wanted to make this comparison video just to see if we can get closer to answering the question which one of these 3 is the best 1/12 Ahsoka figure that we've got so far. Individual reviews for these figures are on the channel. In case you want to check them out, I'll leave links in the description of this video. I've also done posing videos for the Black Series and Mafex version. I will do the same for Figuarts Ahsoka, but at the time of posting this video, I don't think that it's released on the channel, but it will be soon, so stay tuned for that as well. Before we move forward, I have to say that all of these here are just my opinions. I will try my best to be as objective as I can, but at the end of the day, these are only opinions of one person, one collector, and do not reflect the general opinion. There is no special science here. These are just collectibles with a purpose to satisfy your subjective aesthetic taste. So ultimately, your preferences can differ from mine, and that's okay. I wanted to make this video simply as a starting point to a conversation. That's all. Okay, so now let's get started with the comparison. First, let's take a look at the packaging, because to some collectors it can be important how the figure is presented as a product. All 3 companies have their standard packaging designs that is probably familiar to a lot of you guys. Black Series box is the slimmest one, and while it's an aesthetic choice, it can also be a telling sign of the amount of stuff that you get in the box. It is well known that this line is lacking in the accessory department, and Hasbro is not hiding that from you. There is a window in the front showing you all that you are getting here. The figure and 2 lightsabers. That's it. Mafex box is the widest one, and while that could mean that you are getting the most accessories inside, that wasn't always the case, especially with some of their early Star Wars figures. Here we also have a big window showing the figure and some of the accessories, but not all of them. Some parts of the window are covered with logos and a figure promo shot. Figuarts packaging is right in the middle between 2, and not just in this setup, but in terms of the size. Most of the front side is a window showing you almost everything that is inside the box. This is the most compact packaging because it almost doesn't waste any space. Everything looks filled with plastic that you are getting. They even printed the logos on the window, but it's done in such a nice and subtle way that it doesn't keep you from seeing inside of the box. All 3 companies show the character on the side of the box, but while the Black Series uses artist illustration, other 2 show promo shots of the actual figures. Hasbro likes to do the mural thing where all boxes connect into one big picture that can look great if you display them on your shelf. Being something of an illustrator myself, I do like this idea. Other side of the packagings show that the Mafex one is the busiest. Other 2 are simpler. Back of the boxes again shows 2 different approaches. Mafex and Figuarts highlight the accessories on some nice promo shots, while Black Series uses the same illustration from the side of the box with a short bio of the character. I have to say that I prefer what Mafex and Figuarts do here, because if I'm someone who has found these in store, I would like to see the accessories that are included. Hasbro goes with this vague bio that doesn't tell you anything and reuses the same illustration twice on such a small packaging, which can seem kind of lazy. In the last couple of years, Hasbro got better with their promo shots, so I would love to see them putting some of those on their boxes just to get some idea of how the figure looks in action. Top of the boxes again show that the Mafex one is the busiest, and bottom of the boxes is always reserved for legalese. So for me, Figuarts takes the point in this first round because their packaging is compact, doesn't waste space, shows you a lot of the stuff that are in the box, and with some nice promo shots gives you the idea on how the figure looks with the accessories. I prefer the overall look of Figuarts packaging because it's simple and it doesn't take too much space if you're someone who likes to keep the boxes. All 3 figures look good in terms of silhouette and proportions, but there are some differences that are best seen when you can compare them like this. First thing that I wasn't expecting is for Figuarts Ahsoka to be taller than the other 2. Figuarts figures are usually known for being a bit smaller than the Black Series, but that's not the case here. The size of the heads compared to the body proportions also differ. Mafex's head is maybe a bit too small because with the Laku, the head should be a bit bigger. In comparison, Figuarts' head looks a bit too big, but then again, her whole body is bigger, so it's probably fitting. I think that Hasbro did the best job here in terms of head to body proportions. But in terms of the overall look of the figure, the problem that I have with the Black Series one is that it looks kind of hunched forward, like she doesn't have a neck. And that is even more obvious when she stands next to other two figures. Skin tone is also different. Mafex went with stronger orange color, while Black Series is more toned down. Figuarts is, I would say, somewhere in the middle. The sharpness of the sculpt of each detail is where you see the difference in approach, quality of the plastic, and probably the difference in the machines with which they are making these figures. On the Black Series, details look soft and rubbery, and some of the surface textures are lost. For example, you can see that on this upper part of her clothing, on the vest part or whatever this is, but you can see that there are some sculpted lines, that texture, and it's visible on both Figuarts and Mafex. But on the Black Series, this is all smooth and there is no visible texture. Both Mafex and Figuarts have sharper and well-defined details, but Mafex went even a step further with the accuracy of the suit. They've replicated the texture and the pattern on the pants, which the other two figures are missing. And while that's somewhat understandable for Black Series because it was released early, it is surprising for Figuarts because that figure was released last out of the three. Figuarts also missed the color of the suit. They colored the pants dark brown and it should be gray, which is something that Mafex and Black Series did right. I think that Mafex also did the best job on armor parts like gauntlets and shins. They painted them correctly and even gave them a bit of a damage effect, as you can see it here. Other two figures look clean in comparison. On the other hand, hooks for lightsaber hilts are done best for the Figuarts figure here in the middle, where they are sculpted like real working hooks. Hasbro, on the left, sculpted only two cheap-looking small pins that don't really hold the hilt too securely, and Mafex on the far right over-engineered this feature with non-working hooks sculpted as small separate pieces that you need to unplug in order to change them with hooked hilts. That can be a frustrating process for some people, and not to mention that those small parts can easily be lost. So with all that said, my perfect looking Ahsoka figure would probably be a mix between Mafex and Figuarts. I like Mafex's body and texture, but I prefer Figuarts' head and details like, for example, a working hook on the belt. And for this video, I wanted to check if we can swap out these two heads, if Figuarts' head can fit on the Mafex body. So let's try to do that right now. And look at this! These two figures have practically the same size peg. So let's take the Mafex body and let's try to put on the Figuarts head. And so it turns out that this actually works. Ball joints are practically identical. That's a nice surprise. I wasn't expecting that. Skin tones don't match completely, but it's passable. So I guess that this would probably be the closest thing to my perfect 1/12 Ahsoka. I don't know, what do you guys think? This looks really good. And let's do the same thing for Mafex version. Figuarts body and Mafex head. Yeah, it clicks, the articulation works. And so we have Figuarts head on Mafex body and Mafex head on Figuarts body. This head sculpt is still too small. I feel like it is too small even for this body, but because Figuarts is a bit bigger in this case, this body looks even smaller. So I'm not sure how this works, but this, I would say that I'm really satisfied with this result here. So I reconnected the heads back to their original bodies. Now going back to points for this category, even after all said, I think that I'll give it to the Figuarts. Just because the Mafex head sculpt just doesn't do it for me next to S.H.F. And speaking about the head, while all three companies did a good job on these head sculpts, there are some obvious differences that we need to talk about. When the Black Series Ahsoka, here on the left, was released, I saw it as one of the best figures in the line. To me, that was mainly because of the head sculpt. This is one of the best likenesses they ever produced. When I look at this face, I see Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. On the other hand, I can't say the same for Mafex version on the right. Maybe the likeness is there from some angles, but for the most part, I don't think that they did such a great job on this one. That is especially annoying because at the same time they released their Bo-Katan, and the likeness on that figure is off the charts. Probably one of their best works. And so it's a shame that they didn't give us the same quality on Ahsoka. Something is just off. It almost looks like they went with some kind of a generic face, or as if they maybe wanted to hit some middle ground between her live action and animated look. I really don't know what happened, but for me, between the three, Mafex has the worst likeness here. Now, Figuarts' head in the middle looks amazing. To me, the likeness, it's not 100%, but it is definitely there. I would almost say that Black Series has the best likeness, but in comparison with SHF, the paint job is not so good. Hasbro gave it that shiny, sweaty looking finish, and the color around the eyes is kind of too dark. Figuarts looks so good and sharp, and the paint is so beautiful. That is why, when taken all said into consideration, for me, Figuarts takes the point for likeness. This is how far the figures can tilt their heads to the side. This is how much they can look down, and you can see that Hasbro's version can't look down at all, while SHF and Figuarts have kind of the same range of movement. Here is how far they can look up. Again, Hasbro practically can't move at all. Figuarts and Mafex, I think that Figuarts takes it here. That head can go just slightly more up. Using the butterfly joints, this is how far each figure's arm can go across the chest. Now, to be fair, Hasbro's version kind of has a little bit of a butterfly joint movement, but not really. I think that in this case, again, Figuarts has a slightly better range than the Mafex one. This is how far the arms can go up, and I mean, you can get even a better range, but this is just by simply pulling the arms up. You can rotate the arm in the shoulders and get an even better range. And again, Figuarts takes it here. Black Series doesn't have a bicep swivel, nor does the Figuarts, but Mafex does. Figuarts has a swivel in the shoulders and in the elbows as well, so bicep swivel is not really needed to this figure. Black Series also has a little bit of swivel in the elbows. This is how far the elbow bends on each figure, and you can see that it's practically the same range on all three. Maybe Figuarts has a slightly better range, but it's practically all the same. For the wrist, Black Series version has the up and down hinge, while Figuarts and Mafex have their standard wrist joints that can articulate, move in any direction. So of course they are superior to what Black Series gives you. For the torso, here is how much it can tilt side to side, and again, Figuarts has the best range here. This is how far the torso can crunch forward, and again, Figuarts has the best range. Here is how far they can crunch back, and again, Figuarts has the best range. Here is how far the legs can go out, and in this case, I think that Mafex has the best range. Here is how far the legs go forward and back, and here I think that Mafex and Figuarts have the same range. Now, Mafex and Figuarts also have a drop down hip, while Black Series doesn't have that feature. Here is how far the knees bend, and with Figuarts having that drop down knee, that is something new to the action figure world, I guess, it has the best range for the knees. Ankles move forward this much, back this much, and here is the range of ankle pivot, which I think is the best on the Black Series figure on the left. Figuarts in the middle is not far behind, and then the third place takes the Mafex. Figuarts and Mafex also have a generous toe joint. I forgot to mention that both Mafex and Figuarts also have a drop down joint in the shoulders, while the Black Series obviously doesn't have that. So while each of these figures has some points of articulation that are a little bit better than the others, I think that for the most part Figuarts had the best range of articulation. So in this round, Figuarts again takes the point for articulation category. Now, this is a category in which Black Series Ahsoka is immediately destroyed because other than the two lightsabers, she doesn't come with anything else. The real clash here is between the Mafex and Figuarts. Both come with a lot of accessories, and at the end, it all depends on what you prefer. Mafex to the right comes with 6 pairs of hands, alternate head sculpt, lightsabers and 2 versions of hilts, one for holding and one for hanging on the belt. She also comes with an amazing soft soft goods poncho that connects with Velcro in the middle and is fully wired so that you can get a lot of nice and dynamic poses. On top of all that, they also give you a flight stand so that you can pose Ahsoka in like a jumping poses. Figuarts in the middle doesn't fall behind. They give you 4 pairs of hands, 3 faceplates with different expressions, lightsabers and lightsaber swinging effects, 2 versions of ball map from first season of the series, a whole ball and a ball sliced in half. They also give you a soft goods poncho, but this one is not of the same quality as the Mafex one. This material is stiffer and poncho is not fully wired, so you can't get those dynamic poses like you can with Mafex. And so, although I prefer Figuarts' alternate faceplates and swinging effects, Mafex on the other side also gives you at least one alternate head sculpt, but then you get a fantastic wired poncho and a stand. So in terms of accessories, I would say that Mafex gives you practically all that you really need for your Ahsoka figure. I think that you get more play value and more posing options with Mafex accessories, and that is why I give this accessory category point to Mafex. Whenever these kinds of comparisons are made, there is always that unfair feeling about comparing Hasbro's to these high-end figures. Hasbro uses gummier plastic that is probably sturdier because they have in mind that their products can also be for children, and so if a child drops the figure, it has less chance of breaking. Mafex and Figuarts figures, on the other hand, are made with adult collectors in mind. These are some of the things that affect the pricing because the quality, engineering, and number of accessories are very different between Hasbro's product on one side and Mafex and Figuarts on the other. Looking at the pricing, it can be hard to talk about it objectively because it can differ depending on the country that you live in. A standard price of the Black Series figures in the US is $25, while in Europe it's around 30 euros. Then you could assume that a lot of these figures are hard to find in local stores. Believe me, I know. And so you need to take shipping into consideration. Same can be said for other 2 figure lines. You will probably buy those from some of Japan online stores, and so you will have to pay shipping and import charges. You may buy them from Big Bad Toy Store if you are in the US, but then the price will differ from those in Japan stores because BBTS imports them and has to make some money off of them. So there are a lot of reasons why comparing prices can be relative. But for the sake of this video, let's take a general price for each of these figures and let's talk about that. So as stated, we'll say that the Black Series Ahsoka costs $25 to $30 or euros. Mafex Ahsoka on Ami is around $70 and Figuarts is around $80. Now, of course, if the only thing that you look at is how high the price is, Black Series takes it by default. But a subjective opinion about who gets the point in this category will depend on what you want and what kind of budget you have. If you don't want to spend more than $30 on an action figure, I would say that that's fine because Black Series figure is really good. If I wasn't able to get other 2, I would be satisfied with the Black Series version. But because I do have the other versions and because this is a comparison video, I can tell you how I look at it. Let's say that you are in a position that you can buy any of these 3 and you only want one. Which one should you get based on the price? The way I look at this is the amount of stuff that I get, the play value compared to the cost. If you guys know me, you know that I love to play around and pose my action figures. That's what this channel is all about. So I'm a huge fan of accessories. I love when a company puts some effort into giving us some cool accessories because they boost up your shelf display. And so, as stated in the accessory category, Mafex took the points for that. Now, if we would compare Mafex price and accessories with the Black Series price and accessories, we would get a big difference. So the question for me would be, does the number of accessories justify the price of a Mafex figure? And my short answer to that would be yes. For example, let's say that you have only the Black Series Ahsoka, but you want her to be your ultimate Ahsoka figure and you want it to have most of the accessories similar to what Mafex gives us. You want a poncho for her. Well, you can make your own if you know how to do that. But if you don't, you'll have 2 options. Buy another Ahsoka from a 3-pack with Mando and Grogu for around $80 or buy a custom poncho online for around $20. So now your Black Series Ahsoka with custom poncho costs cost around 50 bucks total. And if you want to add a flight stand, that would be another 15 to 20 bucks, and so forth. You see where I'm going with this? So it is my opinion that for 70 bucks and the amount of stuff that you get, Mafex has the best price out of the three. Figuarts gives you almost the same number of accessories, but is slightly more expensive, and that is why the point for this category goes to Mafex. And so the final score is 4 points for Figuarts, 2 points for Mafex, and 0 points for the Black Series. In my opinion, Figuarts gave us the best 1/12 Ahsoka that we have so far. I have to say that it's probably more true to say that it's a toss-up between Figuarts and Mafex, because both figures look really good, they both have great articulation range, and both come with a lot of accessories. And while I slightly prefer what Mafex gives us, the head sculpt is what throws me off, because head is the first thing that I notice on any figure. Figuarts head sculpt turned out fantastic. If their artists took Hasbro's head sculpt and perfected it, that would 100% be the ultimate Ahsoka head sculpt. All three figures are really good, so you can't go wrong with any of them. But for now, at least for me, Figuarts is the overall winner of this comparison. I'm still kind of shocked that you can perfectly swap out the heads between the two. I'll have to see what to do with that. Anyway, this was my comparison of 3 Ahsokas from 3 different companies. I truly hope that this video was informative and that it maybe helped someone out there looking for the answer which out of these 3 Ahsokas to get for his collection. So if this video did help you, please share your experience down in the comment section. Because you've heard my thoughts and now I would love to hear yours. What do you guys think? Which one out of these 3 is the ultimate Ahsoka for you? I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts. As always, a special thank you goes out to my supporters on Patreon, and to the rest of you guys, thank you so much for watching, thank you for being here with me, and I'll see ya in the next video.